You've probably heard the name Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma in the news a lot recently. The nonprofit is playing a huge role in the resettlement of nearly 600 Afghan refugees here in Tulsa. We're joined by Deacon Kevin Sartorius to talk more about the work they do and how folks can get involved. Deacon Sartorius, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to start with just kind of the overview of Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma. If folks hadn't heard of you before now, maybe they still haven't, what do you all do as a nonprofit?
Well, we serve 31 counties in eastern Oklahoma, so it's really from Texas to Kansas, from Stillwater and over to the border, with 15 different programs. So we do a lot of dental work. We have a GED program. We deliver more food than any other nonprofit in the state of Oklahoma. We also have residential programs, an end-of-life home that serves people as they pass from this life to the next, a pregnancy home, transitional living home, and of course our refugee program. So there's a lot going on there. I forgot to mention disaster, where we serve with the flooding and did casework. So we're kind of a jack of all trades kind of organization.
I wanted to go over some of the numbers of folks. So you're talking about you settled your first family in September. How many refugees have you settled, and how many families and folks do you have left to settle?
We just crossed over the 600 mark on our resettlement of the Afghans. So that puts us at 3/4 of the way there. And so we have 200 more coming, and those will be probably in the next 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Now that the system's working, it's really kind of flowing pretty well. And crossing that 600 threshold yesterday was a big accomplishment for us.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Kevin, we've been reporting, it's been difficult at times to find housing for this number of people. Is housing still an issue? Kind of where are you at with that situation?
So when the 600 have arrived so far, they typically will go straight into a hotel just so that we can do a lot of paperwork processing and other things. But now half of those people have moved out into apartments. So we have 300 that are in their long-term housing and 300 that we're preparing housing for. We set up maybe 3 apartments a day right now for the Afghans. I would say that we're pretty good on kind of our 2-bedroom apartment. Where we're probably lacking and still need the community's help in finding things would be for like a family of 8 or a family of 9. And we do have some large Afghan families. So that 3-bedroom apartment or kind of the larger house that's for rent, that would be really what we're scoping out right now.
Kevin, as we talk about Afghan people, they speak languages that aren't necessarily common in this country. If we're talking about, and forgive me if I'm wrong, Pashto is one of the languages. How do you communicate with an Afghan family on a language that's not Spanish, French, Mandarin?
Yeah, so Pashto and Dari are the 2 primary languages, but I would say that a very large percentage of the people we encounter have some English capability. So they have been working with our soldiers, with our State Department in Afghanistan. They know some English. For those that don't, we've actually teamed up with folks who live here in the United States that have that language capacity. And typically we find them at the mosque here in Tulsa. And so we've gotten some really, really good and very dedicated interpreters who've come to us from our local community that speak Pashto and Dari. It's been wonderful to make friends with them.
Wow, that's incredible. You find help anywhere. In terms of these Afghans who are coming over, how do they get to permanent citizenship if they choose to do so? What does that path look like?
Well, so when they came to the United States, they were admitted as guests on a humanitarian basis. So they now need to go through a pretty lengthy legal process to become U.S. citizens. And that will involve working with an attorney to submit an asylum packet to the U.S. government. And Catholic Charities, the University of Tulsa, and the YWCA have all teamed together to build teams of pro bono attorneys that will process these applications. Has to be done in the first year that they've arrived. And if they're successful, they'll have a trip to Houston that every Afghan has to take to be interviewed by the federal government. And then they would get a green card, which would last for 5 years. In that time period, they then have to learn enough English and be able to pass the citizenship test and do other applications in order to get citizenship. So we're looking at like 2026 for the first citizen from this airlift.
Okay, and one more question. I really wanted to get this one in. We have a little bit of time left. How can people at home get involved if they want to get involved in these efforts?
We're still looking for volunteers. We have, as I had said, 3 apartment setups a day. We have a great warehouse with incredible donated material. We load it all into trucks. We also have probably opportunity for English as a second language classes for volunteers, or other types of things in the classroom as opposed to heavy lifting. So if they just go to our website, cceok.org, or call our main number, 949-HOPE, 949-4673, I think that is, we can get them signed up to volunteer, and we'd love to introduce them to these new neighbors because it's really a great experience for our volunteers.
Excellent. Deacon Kevin Sartorius with Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.